What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Movie Raised.
This American fantasy drama show takes a new turn into the life of the supernatural, being a spin-off of the originals and the Vampire Diaries, as it features characters from both series. The right amount of fantasy, drama, and fight scenes makes the show extremely addicting and worth binge-watching. But did you know there are some little hidden things throughout the show? Let us tell you about the things only adults notice in Legacies.
Dimitri.
Number 6. Stefan Salvatore Memorial Library. Even though this show is probably the most appropriate one among the originals and the Vampire Diaries, there are some moments that you won't pay much attention if someone doesn't tell you about them. Hidden items and unusual appearances are just a glimpse of what this show offers. Starting off this list with the very first episode of the show, where Hope finds Landon in the library. While they are taking in there and looking at this glass case filled with a bunch of items, you probably didn't even notice whose case this was. Well, you can only guess, since the name of the library is called Stefan Salvatore Memorial. It does belong to Stefan, and if you look closely, you can even see the necklace he got for Elena. Even though it's not mentioned in the scene, and it doesn't let us know who was the owner of those items, if you are a true fan of the Vampire Diaries, you would have caught this immediately. And if you haven't, go back and rewatch the episode and let us know if you'll find more hidden things in there.
Where are we?
The Stefan Salvatore Memorial Library. All of the artifacts in here have a supernatural history.
Number 5. Hope and Landon. This love story begins from the first season of the show and follows throughout the seasons. Now, if by the end of the show they'll end up together or not, we can't be sure. But we'll let you in on something in their relationship.
I've never needed you to be special. I've always loved you for you. I love you now.
We know how much you love the Hope and Landon relationship. We do too, but from time to time it can be a bit too cringy and even filled with unnecessary drama. From their beginnings as a couple to the multiple fights, this couple has been through it all. Becoming boyfriend and girlfriend was the best thing for Hope, but when she stood over his presumably dead body crying her eyes out, he all of a sudden becomes reborn as a phoenix and gives Hope, well, a bit more hope that he is well and there is a future for them. Then all of a sudden she makes everyone forget about her and sacrifices herself by jumping into Malivoir, leaving everyone behind, including Landon. If you are an adult and watching this show, you'll notice all the little cringy things and the over-the-top couple expressions. From Hope killing him to him losing his memory of anything, this show definitely knows how to include the supernatural into it, and it is definitely the perfect teen show. Number 4. Lizzie calls dibs on Raphael. In the real world, we know that you can't just call dibs on a person and claim it to be yours, but when it comes to a supernatural show, we guess everything is possible. Well, we guess every show needs the right amount of romance and drama, right? The entire relationship between them, beside her calling dibs on him, is weird and kind of problematic, and we all know that Josie has feelings for Raphael, so to hear that her twin sister Lizzie is with him definitely broke her heart. So when Raphael was angry and Lizzie felt like a disappointment, and they desperately needed to be connected to something that will take all the anger and grief out of their head, Lizzie and Raphael made love and further complicated the entire love triangle between both of them and Josie. This thing already raises a lot of red flags on unhealthy relationships and playing games, and even the fact that Lizzie told Josie that she spent the night together with Raphael makes it even more problematic for all of them. We'll have to admit, we were pretty happy when Raphael called it quits with Lizzie, and as sad as we are for her, we are really excited for Josie to start her new chapter with Raphael. Even though the relationship between Raphael and Lizzie didn't last long, it was worth the mention that even in supernatural worlds, the love triangle and the drama keeps happening.
That was unexpected.
Sorry.
Don't be.
Number 3. The School Librarian. We are all familiar with Dorian, the school librarian at the Salvatore boarding school, and the substitute teacher. This character can also be noticed in both the Vampire Diaries and the originals, and now in the Legacies too. What makes this character interesting, and one thing that you might not get the first time you hear it, is why this librarian is a substitute teacher. Let's go back a bit, shall we? He teaches the students about spells and how one tiny mistake can make the completely wrong spell. He is presented as a good, hardworking teacher who cares for his students and always looks out for them. But how did he come in the position to be a teacher in the first place? He mentions that the previous teacher accidentally incinerated himself in hellfire. Does this sound familiar? The Vampire Diaries fans already might have a glimpse on what this might refer to, because this thing is what almost killed all of our favorite characters and what killed Stefan at the end. Throughout the show, we'll come across a lot of these crossovers between stories from the Vampire Diaries and the originals, but this one was super unexpected, and that probably went over your head, but the ones who caught it definitely felt the pain of Hellfire all over again. Number 2. Stephanie Salvatore. As we mentioned, Legacies is a spin-off of the Vampire Diaries and the originals, so it's only fair that there would be mentions of the original cast in the Vampire Diaries. In this show, they answer some important questions we never got the answer from the other shows. Now, if you haven't watched the 2 original shows and only now started watching Legacies, the truth is you didn't even notice some of these things. One of the most important mentions is Stephanie Salvatore, or Elena and Damon's daughter. Even though we caught a glimpse of her character in the originals, we never got to see her for more than a scene. In the Legacies, we still don't see her as a real person, but we do learn about her a bit more. Not only is she mentioned, she gives the fans the story of what happened to the characters of the Vampire Diaries, and even shows us that Klaus and Caroline are still alive and being hunted for being supernatural. This just shows us how completely intertwined are these shows, and how you could miss a little detail if you haven't seen one of them. If you do want to know the entire story, we do suggest you watch both the Vampire Diaries and the originals so everything can make sense once you watch Legacies.
Damon Salvatore has been as generous as he can be, but he and Elena have kids of their own that they need to take care of.
Number 1. The Return of Joe. To many viewers, this scene was really heartwarming and emotional, since after 16 years, Alaric finally gets to say his proper goodbye to the mother of his twins. But if you follow the story closely, you might even catch this mistake. Can you guess what it might be? With the help of a necromancer, Jo manages to go back to her family for a little bit, and get to see them one more time. This scene was probably the Legacy's most emotional hour yet. Not only did Alaric get to see the woman of his dreams again, but his twins get to see and hear their mom one last time. The mistake in this scene, and the thing that confused us, is why she came back in her wedding dress. If that doesn't make sense to you, the story was that after Jo died, she had an autopsy done afterwards. Not only did the scene where she returned shock many people, it also confused some for that reason. We still don't have the right answer to that, and even Kaylee Bryant herself was asked about this, and she said that according to her, it just looked better to show her in her wedding dress. We must agree, probably the reason for the dress was just for the visuals, but it still makes you question. On a related note, we wanted to know, how many of these things have you noticed? Let us know in the comment section below. If you'd like to see more amazing videos such as this one, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss any of them. And as always, thanks for watching, guys!